Have you ever had a friend who, or friends that you say, okay, we should go on a trip together? You talk about a place, you're excited, but you kind of see some red flags about things that aren't going to work out. Like maybe you don't agree on what kind of hotel you want. Or maybe you know that the person's got a lot of stuff going on in their lives and you're like, seems like you're a little stressed. Maybe this is not a good time for you to go. But you're excited. You want to go on that trip. So you put blinders on and ignore that and say, oh, but we're going to have fun. And that's going to make it okay. We're going to have a great fun time. And you will forget all your worries and troubles. I'm going to tell you right now, that's a mistake I made. And I learned the very hard way that I had done lied to myself and ignored every red flag that was waved in my face just because I wanted to go on this trip more than I wanted to face the reality that it wasn't the right time to go. I was talking to my friend about going on a trip. I was really interested in going to this particular country. And I knew my friend was from there. I mentioned it, I was just saying, I'd been there for work and it'd be really cool to go back. A few months later, my friend's like, hey, we're having a family event. And he asked me if I'd be interested in going with him that summer. I said, really? That would be so cool. Okay, sure. Let's do it. I'd spent a lot of time with this guy, and I thought I know how he is. We've gone out to I've met up with his other friends. He's just easy going. That's what I thought. So we start planning the trip. And, it's about 8 months before the trip. We start looking at hotels and things. This was already, a sign that we were not on the same page. He had just bought a condo, and he had just adopted a dog. The dog got sick almost immediately, and that was a lot of stress going on. So he was coming off a lot of cash, right? So when we start looking at hotels, he's like, actually, maybe we could stay at this one. And he shows me something where I'm looking at it like, I think you forgot the S, because this looked like a hostel to me. It looked like, cute lobby and basic rooms, very, very hard-looking beds. So I'm like, maybe we could stay at this hotel. And I show something like a Marriott, and I was like, it'll be a really good price because of the time of year that we were going. And he looks at me and he's like, no, I think this place will be good because the price is so low. And if we share together, I'm like, share together? In my head, I said, share together. In reality, what I said to him was like, share. Now, it's not because I was so worried anything was going to happen. Wasn't nothing going to happen. That was not the kind of friendship we have ever had. It was more along the lines of I like having my own space. I like being in a room where if I get up, whether it's at 5 a.m. or I want to sleep all day, I'm in my own room, minding my own business. Instead, I said, I know you've had to spend a lot of money and stuff, so we could stay at this hotel, or I could stay at the hotel I want, and you could stay at this one. They're not that far apart. He ain't like that idea. And he was like, if we share, we're going to save a lot of money. And it's true, but that's not, when I think of a vacation, I think of I want a comfy room in a good location. I want it to have easy access to, whatever big sites there are to see. That's what I think of when I think of a hotel on a vacation. And already I had missed a step. We never really talked about expectations or anything. I was just like, okay. And we started talking about hotels and stuff. And so that was a problem. And this was only part one. So we decide, I agreed now, ain't nobody make me do this. I agreed to stay at the hotel he recommended, and we decided that we would share the room together. So 2 queen-size beds. The room was okay looking on the pictures. So I was like, okay, fine. Then we start talking about so we're going to go to this family event. It's in one city. He knows that city well. That's fine. That's cool. And then we're going to go to this other city together. He picks the next hotel. Pretty much the same idea. Basic room, the price is nice, though. The price is very nice. I'm like, okay, maybe it's not going to be that big of a deal. Okay. So, all right, the hotels have been picked. I'm in charge of the flights, so I get nice flights. We have access to a lounge. All that's good, so I'm happy with that. And then everything else, I'm like, oh, it'll just work out. Like, we've picked the 2 cities that we want to go to. We're going to be really busy in one city, and then in the other one, we're going to have time to sightsee. We had talked about 1 or 2 things that we both knew we wanted to see, and that was cool, but we hadn't really talked about much else. Months and months go by. He's still stressed. Like, things are getting a little bit easier, but like, he's still spending a lot of money because when you first move into a condo, you're getting furniture, you kitting it out, right? So there was that, and then getting used to the dog and making sure the dog was like all taken care of, and had a dog sitter for when we were going to travel, and it costs a lot of money when you first get a pet, and you have to buy all the things that they need just for day to day, let alone vet bills and things like that. So, this is building. I'm not seeing it, but this is building. We get on the trip. Flights are good. We sit in the lounge. Everything's nice. We even start out at the hotel. It's exactly what I thought it would be. The lobby was nice, and the room was basic, and that's not bad, but that is not what I wanted. I wanted a different kind of room. I ain't say that. So anyway, we're in the room, and it's fine. But then we get through that part of the trip with the family and stuff, and now we're on our own going to another city. And so we get to this next hotel. Not only is it also a basic one, there ain't no elevator. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You ain't looked this up? You didn't know? But no elevator here? He didn't look it up, but I didn't either. It never occurred to me that I needed to look and see if there was going to be an elevator up in where we were staying. What? I'm not living in a walk up. We're on vacation. I don't even want to carry my carry-on like that up no stairs. No. So the fury was just building in me. And then when we get into the city and we start going sightseeing, I don't want to do like a hop-on, hop-off bus tour, he says. Like, I really think it'd be so much nicer if we just kind of go and explore the city. At this point, I'm like, you know what? I had to lug my bags up them stairs to get into the room. And like, I only have carry-on, but I ain't want to do that. I already had to do that. Now you telling me you want us to just roam around in a place that neither one of us knows and just figure it out? No, I don't want to do that. I want to have a basic sense of what we're going to see, and then we can go out and spend more time at any location you want after that. But I don't want to just wander around the city at this stage with you. No, I don't want to do that. So we eventually agree on like doing the hop-on, hop-off bus tour. That turns out to be nice. Then he's like, he wanted to pick some little, it just looked like a little, it was a hole in the wall. And that wasn't my issue, but it was dark and it just didn't look cheerful. And I'm like, this is a vacation. Don't we want to eat somewhere where people look happy? Like, it's not that I didn't want to eat there. It just didn't look like a cheerful place, and I was already not in a good mood. So we finally agreed on some happier places to go to. Then it was like the issue became, now that we've done a basic overview of the city, I want to go do this. And I'm like, oh, that's good. You go to the museum and I will go to, this monument. He's like, but no, I don't feel comfortable with that because, what if you get lost? I'm like, I travel all the time. I'm going to be okay. We'll meet back at the hotel at 5:00 this evening. Well, okay, I don't want to go by myself. I think it would be better if we stayed together. Stayed together? I'm thinking to myself, for what? We getting on each other's nerves as it is. Oh, you don't want to take a break? But so we hang out. We eventually worked it out where I was like, look, I want to eat something different. You want to eat something different. So we can go to these, like the monument and the museum together. But for lunch, I don't want to change what I want to eat. You can go eat whatever you want. I will go eat whatever I want. And then we'll meet and go out together to go see this stuff. And I was so happy to just have some time to myself and to eat alone. in a happy place with lots of lights and cheerful people. It was just wonderful. And then he came back looking all sad and crazy, but then we went out and it was good. And so, there were just little moments like that, but the trip eventually wraps up, and we get back home, and I was like, okay, you take care. I was like, we are not talking again, let alone how we gonna be friends. I was so pissed. I was angry with him for having done this to me. How could you want to travel like this and not tell me? So I spent probably like a year we would text back and forth a little bit, but a lot of stuff was happening. We both ended up being really busy. And honestly, it took like the pandemic for me to realize, while I had spent so much of my time being furious with him for picking these hotels and not being so flexible, and I said okay to all of it. He did not make me. He did not try and guilt trip me. He would reemphasize what he wanted. I did not say honestly what I wanted. I did not just put my hands up and admit that I didn't want to stay at that hotel. I was definitely going to stay at this other hotel. I didn't want to do the trip this way. I didn't say anything other than okay to all of the suggestions that he made. It really, it takes a pandemic and really thinking about the people you care about and stuff you've done to just be like, oh, I kind of walked right up into that mess. I saw that the boy had just gotten all these new expensive things in his life, and that he just was not ready for, it wasn't going to be a vacation for him like it was for me. I didn't have all that going on in my life. So I had to let it go. Like, I had to let go of this. I mean, it was just downright fury. Like, I mean, ultimately, when I talk about it now, it's a lot of petty, small stuff, but it felt so stressful and so heavy because I just never in my wildest dreams thought we would be so different about what we wanted when we were traveling, because we spent a lot of time together in person before that. And, it taught me when people are in an area where they're comfortable. Yeah, we lived in the same city. He was fine, and he liked the fancier restaurants and, eleganza, and we were just like living our best lives. That was different when he had to leave his comfort zone, leave his element, and we were going to go back we were going to visit family or going to like be spending money that was different, right? Like we were in a different place, doing different things. It hadn't occurred to me to just say, hey, maybe now is not a good time to take this trip. It hadn't occurred to me to say, hey, when we're saying this trip is a good idea, what do you even like when you go on vacation? Like, how do you like to travel? What things do you enjoy doing? We had none of those conversations. I just said, yep, to a bunch of things that I should have said, no. I said yes out of fear that I would upset him. Yes, out of fear that he would go on the trip without me. And instead, I should have said no out of love. No, I don't want to do that because I know what I enjoy. No, because this is not, I think right now might not be a good time for you. Or no, if I'm going on this trip, these are the things that I need. I ain't say none of that. So it really took spending some time with myself to realize, for as much as we both didn't do it right, like, he's as much as I'm an adult and I didn't make the best of choices, he's an adult too, and he didn't make the best of choices. We didn't talk enough before the trip. And then during the trip, I just didn't understand why he wasn't a mind reader. During the trip, I was very clear about what I was willing to do and what I wasn't willing to do. The best time for that would have been before we flew, long before, when we were planning. But then all of a sudden, I wanted to stand my ground. It's like, it taught me a lot about myself. I certainly learned a lot of the difficulties that my friend was dealing with, and realized that so much of it was just he had a lot going on, and he didn't feel like he had control of those things. And so once he got home and got settled, he was right back to normal. He was in his element. Me, what was my excuse? I travel all the time. I didn't think about the fact that it's important to set expectations about like what each person has in their mind for a journey like that, right? It sounds so funny for me to say now, but it really made that very clear to me. I went in blind, assuming that it was all going to be okay, without ever having real discussions about what we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it, the kinds of hotels we wanted to stay in and stuff. I just figured it would be okay, and it wasn't. It wasn't. It helped me learn to just be more direct about my needs and my wants when it comes to travel, and to let go of the fact that, well, he didn't do this and he didn't do that. Well, I had a choice in the matter, and I ain't choose a lot of the right things. I did not. So I'm forever grateful to him for that. As I look back on it now, I would say I would give that trip a solid like C+, B-. It was still pretty good. We still had a lot of good things going for us, and we did not spend a lot of money. I will say, even though I was annoyed and proper pissed that we didn't stay at nicer hotels and stuff, we didn't spend a lot of money. So that was the first trip I ever came that deeply under budget on. So I give him credit for that. Once I realized that it was important to let it go and to look at what I could do differently, it was actually the moment that I realized how many good things happened on that trip. We did have fun. I was not crying in the bathroom every moment of that trip. I learned a lot, and I had a really great time for many parts of it with my friend for many parts of it. It was a solid trip. Like, I have no regrets about going. I think the only thing that I wish I had been real about was not going with that friend at that time. He could have gone. I should not have gone with him at that point. And now it makes sense to me, and I get it. But I guess you learn better when you experience it for yourself. So I've done that now, and I'm so glad to know that I don't have to travel like that again, that I can say, no, I don't like this, and yes, I do want to do that. And if we don't agree, then we don't need to travel anywhere together. It's okay. Maybe we can go on another trip, or maybe we don't. But it's okay. Everybody does not need to travel together. And that doesn't mean you have to stop being friends. It's okay that you don't want to do what I want to do. So I learned that, and I'm like, wow, why is it that I'm learning this so late? It's like, well, you learn it when you learn it. I just didn't realize that it was something that I was worried about until I sat there in a room with this person thinking, why am I dealing with this? Let me know your travel traumas and dramas. I am very curious to hear from you. Have you had issues with people that you have traveled with in the past? Did you learn your lesson? Do you see the red flags before you go? Or maybe there weren't any red flags and you went on a trip with somebody who just went plumb crazy when you got away from home. Let me know in the comments. I am very curious and eager to hear from you. And who knows, we might have to talk more about it in another episode.